Well, with me now is Carool Kersten, Senior Lecturer in the Study of Islam and the Muslim World at King's College in London. Good morning to you. Explain one thing to me. All right, we hear about the divide, different in different countries between Shia and Sunni, but why is it such a potentially violent divide?
I think because it's a historical divide that started right at the beginning of the formation of the Islamic community, when after the death of the Prophet a dispute arose over who should be in charge of the community. So in its origins it is a leadership issue, but once that split had occurred, the two communities set out on their respective development of their own traditions, having their own theological and juridical particularities, but the fundamental beliefs remain the same. Religion has this powerful symbolic function that if there is underlying causes which are of an entirely different nature, it is a very effective source that can be mobilized for political purposes.
But they're not the only. I mean, many religions in the world, Christianity, the Jewish religion particularly, they have all sorts of sects, if you like, differences of opinion between. It doesn't normally, in the modern world anyway, take the form of trying to kill each other.
Need not necessarily so, although if we look at the Northern Irish situation, the split is also along Catholic and Protestant lines, but indeed the underlying causes are different. And in the case of the Middle East at present, it's a conglomerate of political ambitions, territorial claims and economic interests that are really at stake. But those involved have noticed, actors in particular and political leaders, that religion does form a very powerful mobilizing force.
We can't tell, of course, what's going to happen with Iraq, but if it is to split basically, well, there's the Kurds in the north, but then if it splits between the Sunni and the Shia, and that becomes the future of that country, how do you think those two communities, if you like, can they coexist together, or will there always be the most enormous friction?
Well, there will be friction for a long time to come, because there has been hurt on both sides of the equation. And I mean, these situations go actually back already to the confrontation between Iraq and Iran in the 1980s, which also was quickly overlaid by the differences between the Sunni Saddam Hussein regime and the Shia Islamic government in Iran. So it will take some time to die out, but important to know is that settling the sectarian differences will not resolve the underlying conflicts, and I think a degree of pragmatism will be required to recognize that and basically diffuse the situation by taking these sectarian differences for what they are.
But are you saying that these differences can only be settled within the Muslim world itself? I mean, people like John Kerry, we just heard the American Secretary of State, he's going to the region now. America always playing a role in the background, but presumably it's for those Muslims themselves eventually to try to sort these differences out.
Yeah, that will of course be one of the prime requirements, and outside interferences are always met with a fair degree of suspicion. If we look at the situation at present, I mean, until almost a week ago, Iran was within the axis of evil, and now it is considered a partner in containing this sudden Sunni threat. We have moved in 1 week from a threatening Shia crescent to an emerging Sunni caliphate.
And one final question about the situation back here in the UK. Here we hear about policemen, police officers warning that there might be fighters coming back here. Do you think it is the sort of thing that could cause a lot of violence on the streets of Britain? Well,
I can understand the concerns, because we had a similar situation after the Afghanistan war of the 1980s and 90s, which maybe had not so much a ripple effect in Western countries, but numerous countries in the Middle East, like Saudi Arabia, had thousands of returning war veterans, and they were definitely considered a threat and were very much involved in the unrest in the late 90s and the first decade of the 21st century.
Well, Carool Kersten from King's College, very grateful to you. Thank you very much indeed.